Hello and welcome. Welcome to Shadowdark Tales from the Smoke. Hi there, I'm Andy from Twisted Narrative, and I'm joined tonight by some fine friends and cast. Although by the end of the session, whether they will still be my friends or not, we will see. Please introduce yourselves. We'll start across at the top with you, Fliss.
Hi, Andy. You know me. I'm Fliss. I play in a regular fortnightly game with you. I love all sorts of flavors of Shadowdark, D&D, Cthulhu, anything come in. So I'm really excited to see how this runs tonight.
We've done a prologue, and we're going to go into session one very, very shortly. Just below you is Malcolm, please.
Good evening, all. Yes, very much looking forward to live action play, and that's going to have scuppered your recording.
It's fine. Carry on. Brian will be back.
Okay. Evening, all, and yes, very much looking forward to rolling dice live in session for this adventure within the smoke. A rather unique location and setting.
Yep, I'm bound to like it. It's my own homebrew world. But an urban environment for Shadowdark, surely that is not possible. The amount of people that have been questioning whether it is just a dungeon crawler rule set. And I say no. I say it can be used. There will be some crawling going on. A lot of the mechanics of Shadowdark I've really taken to heart and I like. But it's also an urban setting where the wonders or the grimy city streets can be explored. And our next crawler explorer is Kyle.
Well, Kyle. I've been role-playing for around 5 years. I'm in a bi-weekly Spelljammer, primarily 5e with Andy. But I'm looking forward to having a bit more of a gritty, dark gameplay and looking forward to exploring the characters we've rolled up.
Yeah, indeed. And if you do want to have a little more in-depth look at these characters and sort of at the character sheets, we've done a number of profile videos on YouTube that you can go and have a first look at these characters as they start off at level 1. Last but not least, it's Brian.
Hi, I'm Brian. I've been role-playing for about 20 years in a number of different systems and a number of different games. Interested in having a go at Shadowdark, my first experience in the OSR style of game.
Brilliant, and I am very excited to have you at my table as well. So, before we go into the introduction, the Arcane Library released page 111 of the core rulebook on Twitter at the start of this week, Modes of Play. Done a quick little video about it in YouTube, but we're going to choose, certainly for tonight, and who knows, we might stick to this or we might change the modes and the styles of play depending on the locations they visit. But for the moment, we will be playing pulp mode. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the rules, this means that there are no maximum luck tokens a player can have. Players start every session with 1d4 luck tokens. You can use luck tokens to turn a hit into a critical hit. You can turn luck tokens. You can use a luck token to take an extra action, and you can use a luck token to force the GM to re-roll a roll to give it that very pulp style. And I think that suits what we have in mind for tonight's game. So, the first thing that I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to make some dice rolls. So let me move the tails from the Smoke Central logo, which is here. Poof. And you can see Fantasy Grounds on the stream. Fantasy Grounds is our virtual tabletop of choice. We'll be using this. When we do come onto the crawling, it will be useful for seeing the lighting effects as the characters explore whatever location they're in. So we're going to start off the other way around. Brian, if you would like to give us a D4 roll, please.
Sure thing.
There we go. Boom, and it's come up, so everybody here, both in chat and on screen, can see that. That is 2. So you're starting today's session with 2 luck. Luck can be gained through play as well. Then we move to you, Kyle. 2 as well, consistent. And then to you, Malcolm. 4. Someone is
Ooh.
feeling lucky.
Roll the luck.
And then last but not least, Fliss.
See what we got.
2 again. So 2, 2, 4, 2. Okay, so this is what you start with. Perfect. With that done, we will do quick character introductions once we introduce the smoke proper. So, the smoke, seen by outsiders as the jewel of Europa, a shining example of civilization, the realities are somewhat different. The city is vast, and within this vastness there are countless dichotomies, deep divides and contrasts. The splendour where fortunes are spent in a heartbeat, and the squalor where heartbeats are silenced for less than a bite of bread. The Bacchanalia, a district of music halls, theatres and lodges where those fortunate enough to afford tickets can lose themselves for a few hours, and Sorrow House, the asylum where the truly lost are condemned. The spires of enlightenment, a district of cathedrals, churches and shrines dedicated to all known faiths, and Sut Hill, the district of mills, factories and workhouses, where their congregations are put to hard labour. For all these differences, however divergent, they are always connected by the single common factor, the ever prevalent smog. The squalor has its well-deserved reputation for severe poverty and overcrowding. It is a labyrinth of alleys and gunnels, the buildings built so close to each other they almost block out the sky. At night, there is little to no lighting on the streets, and together with the smog, it's very easy to get lost. When darkness falls in the squalor, the smog becomes something more, the Shadowdark, and the denizens of the city below begin to emerge and prowl the upper streets. Small havens of light can be found, though, oases in the desert of darkness. One of those havens is the Three Valves public house, and this is where we find our protagonists. In the back room, awaiting the arrival of their contact, a Doe, John Doe, an arranger of jobs for guilds, for mercantile houses, but above all, a go-between, so that you never know whose employ you truly are with. So in this back room, we see a table, a few tankards of wood filled with weak ale, and sitting around the table we have these fine individuals. Fliss, do you want to introduce your character and what you look like?
Yeah, so Ellie, Eliara, or Ellie to her friends or anyone who can't be bothered, is a very slim, very slight, slightly sickly looking elf girl with short red hair. And she'd be snuggled up quite close to slightly older elven woman. She's wearing tattered clothes, just a bit grubby and dirty, but you can see that she's got some leather armor. underneath her clothes, and she's looking about somewhat nervously.
Who are you paying most attention to at the moment?
I think Ellie's attention is switching between snatches of kind of conversation with the older elf woman, and I believe there's another character here doing some card tricks, so she keeps getting drawn back to him as well.
Card tricks, you say? Kyle, I believe that is your character. Who are you? What do you look like?
Indeed it is. My character is Gideon Lambert. He is a rather small human male, dressed in tattered sort of begging clothes. And as Ellie said, he's trying to toss a few cards into his sleeve as he shuffles them out to practice some questionable tricks.
So are the tricks questionable, i.e. are you just doing card tricks, or are you trying to stack the deck ready for a gambling session?
There's an attempt at stacking the deck, but it's not a good one.
Okay. So you're trying your very best. As well as your full attentions on the card, who catches your eye?
Do you believe my eyes will be on another human individual in the room?
Okay, I believe, Brian, this would be your character. Who are you? And give us a description about what you are doing.
Indeed, I'm playing Hector, and he's a human male of, I would say, average height and build, perhaps bulked out a little bit by the leather armor he's wearing. But amongst this party of uh, participants, he's probably the tallest person in the room. Um, he's got dark hair and a dark beard, and he's wearing a red scarf about his neck, the sort of thing that are commonly worn around the smoke to keep out the smog and the dust. And he's got a large shield over his shoulder on a leather strap, and he's leaning on a spear um, in the corner, just sort of seems like he's waiting for any number of things.
And your eyes cast across the other three individuals here, and you, I believe, don't recognize any of them.
No, these are all strangers to me.
So we'll come to the final stranger then, which is can you tell that you're slightly older as an elf? What do you look like? And please let us know your name, Malcolm.
Yes, I am a fellow elven female. Perhaps to other elves, I would be noticeably older than Ellie. A little broader, a little stronger, perhaps a little more patient, ready to absorb her surroundings, a little more calm, perhaps. Here, as an opportunity to provide guidance, a little protection, perhaps if it was necessary, but perhaps uncomfortable herself, yet doing all she can not to show it.
Do you have a name?
Oh, my apologies. Valrond is this elderly lady's name.
Perfect. Okay, you have little time to really sum each other up. It seems that some of you know each other, maybe even just a smidgen, others completely unaware. Like I say, though, you have little time to spend much time socializing, as the door to this small back room of the three valves is opened, and you see a dwarf enter. At first, it's quite difficult to really see what he looks like. The bright light from behind him, sort of backlighting him, and there are just torches in here that are guttural, just spitting, and the pitch on them is, well, it's not very pleasant. But as he steps into the room, he reaches into a pocket and pulls out a lighter, and it kind of lights his face up as he attempts to light quite a large cigar. You see a grizzled face of a dwarf. Obviously, I say obviously, that is perhaps taking the stereotype, but very bearded. But his beard is well groomed, a number of beads in the plaits, and you do notice the beads are gold. He's wearing a very fine suit, three-piece pocket watch, seeming to indicate he has certainly connections with the horologists. But then you notice a tie-pin, beautiful diamond. What, the cutters then? His bowler hat, remarkably made, very high quality, the hatters. He seems to have contacts or a certain amount of coin to spend on all of these fineries. You are, of course, though, aware that this is the Doe, the John Doe, that you are scheduled to meet. Well then, I hope you haven't been waiting long, and the refreshments have been, well, sufficient for this place. My apologies if not, but work is work, is it not? And all of your names have, well, reached my pocket book. Right. He looks around. Ellie, Valrond, Gideon, Hector. I have the right room, do I? You already know he has the right room, and he already knows he has the right room. This is for conversation, for show, perhaps to get you to perhaps underestimate him a little bit. But let's face it, you don't. He moves forward and takes his seat. You like cards then, huh? What's your game?
Oh, well, a bit of this, bit of that. Would you care to play a hand?
Oh, no, I'm not here for fun. Business. You wish to earn some coin, yes? Your names have come well recommended. I'm not at liberty to say, and I'm not at liberty to say who has hired me to find people such as yourselves. You know that. Hey, this is the smoke. I'm a Doe. We get things done. I've got the perfect business opportunity for you all. Degree of danger, but with danger comes reward, does it not?
Always. They just don't always match in value.
Well, whilst I can not say who has hired me to assemble this glorious group of crawlers,
At this point, Ellie collapses into a coughing fit, leaning against Valrin. The cigar is a bit much for her.
I'm sorry, and he immediately kind of pulls one of the tankards across. Whose tankard would it be? Let us just do this. So this will be yours, yours, Ellie. He reaches out for your tankard, pulls it across, and just puts his cigar out in it. It kind of sizzles. Apologies, I did not wish to cause any harm. I'll get you another drink in a minute. So you must have some questions, and I enjoy certain questions. Yes, I could easily tell you what is needed to be done, but for the future, if I am happy with the work that you've done, there might be other jobs, and I kind of like to see the way your minds work. You can tell that his deep set eyes in this kind of grizzled face, he's got quite a large bulbous nose, big brow. They are keen and they dart around you all. So, questions? We have a little time.
Would it have been possible to try and gather some information on this job from when we heard of it to this meeting?
No, unfortunately not. That's not the way that this works. Jobs via DOEs are highly secretive. It's given to them. They hold on to it as a treasured piece. You are very lucky to be chosen, to be honest. Either lucky or unlucky because you're the only people he could get, or perhaps others have tried and failed.
Given Valorant has spent perhaps some more time than others in the city, has she experienced jobs being offered before?
Oh,
Or is
yeah.
this kind of like the first?
You would definitely be aware of DOEs, but you've probably never
Mhm.
been hired by one before. There are plenty other
Yep.
ways of making coin, certainly not as lucrative. You are aware that DOEs are hired by the mercantile houses themselves a lot of the time. The
Mhm.
mercantile houses want to remove themselves from any scandal. This is why, Gideon, you wouldn't have heard of this job. You might, once you find out what the job is, maybe heard rumours on the street around what this job is.
Is the job to retrieve something?
Ah, wow. I mean, I didn't know we were playing a guessing game, but you've just guessed. I'm impressed, and I'm certainly not going to play cards with you now. Can you read me? Can you read my face? What gave it away? What was it? Tell me your secret. Are you a wizard? Are you a potter?
I think you know by now, secrets always have a price.
Ah, indeed. Beggar. Beggar. I'm going to watch you. Yes, indeed. There's an item. Uh, uh, Let me fill you in with the facts, the things that I am able to tell you. So, there was a doctor, a guild member from the Upholsterers Guild. You know, the guild that puts the stuffing back into people. Well, he was removed from the guild for unethical research. His name is Ezekiel Payne. He remains in custody, but it is believed that he has a new sponsor, and well, um, he continued his work till he has been recently apprehended. His terrible work perfecting his hideous craft. You see, he practices chimera ancy, flesh crafting, terrible thing outlawed by the city. Well, the people I represent want you to find his bloody workshops, clear out any of his experiments and hazards. But the true aim, to be honest, is to recover his research journals and bring them unlooked at and safely back to me.
At this point, anyone who's particularly perceptive will hear Hector mutter something along the lines of, "And that's what and here it is," as if he's almost expecting that.
Yeah. Well, of course. I mean, I'm a doe. I have doe coin. that I'm sure
Mhm.
that you are interested in obtaining from me, and you perhaps will have to dirty your hands a little, but the streets of the smoke are indeed very dirty. So what's a little dirt between friends?
And Val, did you understand anything that he just said? That was a lot of big fancy words.
Talk of creatures, talk of bad practices.
What's the
Really?
job
That kind
then?
of thing is attempted?
You,
Oh, the job's to hide the evidence and retrieve the techniques developed. It's a bug hunt, for want of a better phrase.
yeah, nothing more. Just like going into the university and borrowing a book. Uh,
Hmm.
Why didn't you just say that? Why'd you have to say all those other words? Are all does this complicated?
I thought I was fairly straightforward. I will put it into plain English for you if you wish. You simply need to descend down, locate the workshops of this Dr. Payne, uh, navigate your way through them one way or the other, uncover his journal, and bring it back unlooked at safely to me.
Do we have
I
any
think we could do that, couldn't we?
smoke
Do we
something?
have any clues of where to start?
Well,
Is there?
he's been questioned, and I've got a ballpark area. It is supposedly somewhere beneath Slickside, hence the location of this meeting. Um, Somewhere off the sewers. Um, the sewers are fairly dangerous, but I believe if any of you have got any contacts with the Ratters, the Ratters Guild, those that keep the sewers, well, clean from, well, dirt and very, uh, very nasty creatures. They might have an idea. They might have already found it themselves, and well, there might be some negotiations to be done. You can negotiate, can't you?
Aggressive.
We would do our best.
Ah,
We would need something to negotiate with, perhaps advance.
an advance. An advance. You are untested and untried. And looking at all of your gear, I think it is unlikely you could even carry an extra bag of coins amongst all of you. And I mean, let's face it, you're going into a hazardous environment, and the last thing you really want to do is be taking a lot of coins down there only to lose them. I'll keep them safe for you.
How much coin are we talking?
That is a very good question. That is a very good question. Uh, if you can bring me back this journal, then that is what I'm
That's the
really
book,
after.
right? You keep saying journal. Is a journal a book?
A
That
journal is indeed a book. Um, is indeed a book. It is written by the individual, um, this Dr. Payne. It is his records of his experiments.
yeah. Wow. Anyway, if we bring the book, what happens?
You will get rewarded.
Yeah, how much?
Hmm. The individuals I am representing are very generous. Very generous. Let us just say it will be enough to keep you in comfort for a good week or so. And of course, not only that coin, but I will have seen you work, seen you successfully complete a job, and it means more work will come when you are ready for it. Not everybody is as lucky as you to meet a doe.
And anything else that we may find, we may keep.
Oh, of course. The people I represent are only interested in the journal.
Of course.
So anything else you find along the way is absolutely yours.
What do they want with the smelly old book?
Now, that is a
I mean, like you
question
said,
that
there's lots of books at the university.
that is a question I am not at liberty to answer, on the grounds I might incriminate both myself and the organisation I represent, and it is perhaps a question best forgotten. I get the impression, Ellie, that you're quite good at forgetting things.
Yeah,
Shouldn't
guess
be
so.
a challenge for you then. You're one step closer already.
Is it generally considered that the does, though, have to be secret, are typically honest, trustworthy
Oh,
enough?
absolutely. If a doe offers you a job, you know it's genuine. You know whatever they offer you, they're not going to default upon. You know that they require your subtlety upon the job,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and provided that you keep that and you do the job and you return it, absolutely, you get a reputation, and a reputation in the city is worth more than any coin. On top of that, um, they don't want to lose their reputation for
Mm.
giving out jobs. So
Yep.
there's no need for any kind of wisdom roll to be made to see whether he's lying to
Mm-hmm.
you. Um, you are aware that the caveats. He's not going to say who he's working for. He expects you to do the exact thing that he's asked, which is return the journal and unwritten, and he wants the proper journal, not some kind of, oh, we found this book down there, surely this is the journal, you know. So you will have to make sure you get the correct one. But in terms of sort of double dealing you, not at all. This is one of the
Mm-hmm.
benefits of having a doe as an employer.
It's all business.
It is all business.
Do we
Can
have?
any of
So,
you read?
Sorry. Many people will start off with you, Gideon, and then we will move round. What was you asking?
If we're meant to leave this journal unread, do we have a description of what it looks like so that we can?
A big
That's
book
the
looks like a journal. It probably has Dr. Payne's journal written upon the cover. Absolutely. You will know it. I'm not expecting you not to take a peek, to just to authentify it. But I'm not expecting you to take copies of whatever's in it. There is no trickery here. It is a job to be done. As Hector said, it's business, and we can do good business together. Ellie, I believe you was going to say something.
Well, can any of us read? I can't read.
Well, I mean, you are just a delight. You're very good at forgetting, and you can't read. You are perfect. I mean, these are
So
things
how are we
that,
going to know it's the right book if we can't read? You said it
well,
would have like Dr. Payne on it.
I'm sure some of you can read. I mean, I
We'll
have. Sorry.
we'll sort it out.
Yes. I mean, uh, You are acquainted with the Potters, are you not, Hector? I'm sure you did
Far too well.
a little bit of reading before you broke away from your studies. When he says that, it is blatantly obvious that he has looked into your backgrounds.
Hector seems none too pleased.
Hmm. And then finally, Valrond, I think you were going to say something.
I too was asking about the identification of the book, but following that, the Dr. Payne, not that it matters other than identifying the book and potentially the contents therein, what language would he have written in?
Well, it will be a scientific text, so
Mm.
it would be common, but obviously there will be a lot of scientific notations and drawings and the like. Primarily, one would assume about anatomy. The study of chimerancy is not just about dollops of flesh and making abominations. No, this is the skilled art of merging two different creatures together and coming up with something new. I mean, who would have believed that ever a bear and an owl could be combined to make such a terrifying creature? But that was a result of chimerancy. It seems that Dr. Painter has taken it to another level.
Are you saying this book has dirty pictures in it?
Well, I mean, everything in the smoke is a little dirty, is it not? But if you mean exotic or erotic or
Well,
what,
two bodies?
two bodies, yes,
Well,
of
that,
creatures
yeah.
spliced and stitched together. I don't believe
Oh,
there's any fornifications of sorts within these texts. I mean, it does
okay.
remind me of another job I have to go and get done very soon. But you do not need to worry yourselves about that.
So
So,
Valrond looks to the group and is trying to judge their responses and reactions to the offer before us.
okay. So you do that, you look round, and again, you are free to describe how you are looking at the moment. So we'll start with you, Hector. What is your expression?
Hector looks like there's a bad smell in the air that has nothing to do with the current company or the setting, and it's like he's smelled this stink before. He looks like he's got things to say, but he doesn't want to say them in front of this contractor, this dough.
Perfect. And how about you, Gideon?
Gideon would be looking quite thoughtful. He's mentally going over any information about Chimerancy he's heard of and who the beggars are around Slickside to potentially get a bit more information from.
Okay, perfect. And last but not least, Ellie.
She's just generally confused. These are really big words, and the guy said it was a picture book, but I don't know.
Yeah,
It's not kind of pictures she's seen. But she seems quite keen for the money,
very good.
and she would
So,
give Val that indication.
Val, there's your answer as you look around. And I mean, Val, what are you looking like for the others can see you too?
Given the interest in taking conversation either further beyond the doe's ears and already people considering next steps, Valorant is cautiously interested, cautiously just about ready for Ellie to dive at the opportunity to make what she might think is some easy coin, but is looking to accept the deal as offered, given that the does are considered trustworthy, if not by omission, and looks forward to an opportunity to learn something more.
Perfect. So with that then, John Doe stands up. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Once you have succeeded in gaining possession of this journal, return here. If you want to speak to any of your beggar friends, he kind of looks at you, Gideon, or if you just want to speak to Boris, he owns this bar. He will get word to me, and I will be along post haste. I will ensure I leave a few coins behind the bar for a few more drinks now, and for when you return successfully with the journal, to drink while you await my arrival. He pulls himself up. He's very wide, being a dwarf, and not that tall. There is a bulk about him, and it's easy to get wrapped up in all of his finery rather than seeing the almost stone-like physique he has beneath that most tailored suit. He doffs his hat. A pleasure. May luck shine with you. And with that, he turns.
Mr. Doe, just before you go, is there any other groups looking for this book?
Oh, not at all. Certainly not via my employ. That to say, though, is there might be other interested parties. They might have reached out to other dough, and they are working for different employers to me. A very sharp question. And this is the smoke, let's face it. There's always rivals. Someone's always trying to make a coin or two. So be discreet. Use what you have, and be quick about it, eh? And if there's no more questions, he leaves you to your discussions.
Val,
Well,
I think
definitely.
this would sort me right out. This would settle my
Mhm.
debts.
Yes, that leveling of the playing field we all look for comes with some risk. No doubt that these creatures that have been attempted are not of sound mind and are likely to be feral. And if there are others looking for it, or people that are just happen upon these locations, we probably have some challenges to the endeavour.
Considering it's a retrieval job, I doubt the doe doesn't think us capable. Had it been elimination or something similar to that, it might have been an aim to get us killed, but they want the journal, so they clearly know more about us than we might perhaps like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all have the skills for this job.
And I've smelled this sort of stink before. I can take a good guess why they want that book.
Sorry, I don't think we've met yet.
Sorry, Hector.
Hector, you know a lot about books, huh?
I know enough.
You did say the Potters, my friend.
Yeah.
You come from the scholarly arts?
Not fit for kiln. Sorry,
Ooh.
Potter talk. The only reason they're they're going to want that book because they're going to want to know what's in it so they can try it for themselves. But, this time just not get caught. I'll bet you. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Does that bother you? Is that a problem?
I don't know. This flesh crafting art, I'm going to need to pick up more lamp oil.
What does it even mean? Flesh crafting?
Well, I mean, I've only heard about that sort of stuff, but it's like you said, you've heard of owl bears, haven't you? Think of or like, I mean, what animals do you know other than okay, here, imagine, I mean, I don't know why we would do this, taking a rat and a pigeon, and not just stitching the two of them together, but using unnatural arts to make them into one thing. So you have a pigeon rat or a rat with feathers and wings, or I don't know.
I think I saw one of those down on Aunt Val's boat the other day.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of creatures that make their habitat along the very polluted rivers of the Slick. But those are perhaps what would be confirmed sort of mutations rather than this actual scientific constructing of new creatures.
Mm.
And I mean, those of you who are aware, I mean, even the name Chimera, Ansi, you are aware that it comes from the creature, mythical no doubt, the Chimera, which has various different body parts, 3 heads supposedly, although they are variations of type.
Well, if it sets you straight, Ellie, and gets people off our backs, and maybe, hell, not allowed to say it too loudly, but put you to honest work afterwards, or does this become a lifestyle? We will see, but I'm willing to risk it to put us in a better stance. This Doe knows enough about us. Gideon, you're right. He's picked somebody who he will get this book out of this rat run, and we will build from there. But he did suggest the beggars. Do you have a connection there?
I may be known to beg every so often, but the best currency with the beggars is gold.
Or information they don't
Well,
have.
True.
Well, we have a little coin perhaps in our pockets now. Perhaps we can take one of the gold that he'd left us for drinks and suggest we might need it in our endeavours. And if it takes crossing palms with coin to learn a little more about where we start, our thorough investigations, because these places will not be easily found, I'm sure.
No, hidden layers generally hidden.
So, discussions made. There is a pace to Shadowdark, and we don't want to get caught too much up in second guessing what will work and won't work. We'll close this scene now, and it sounds very much you're going to reach out to your contacts, Gideon, the beggars. You are familiar with a young girl, urchin, probably no more than 8, by the name Flo, and she frequent, she begs very close to the three vowels. In fact, just outside of the light of the three valves. So relatively easy enough to locate and relatively safe. You're not going to have to go into the interior of the Swallow at night time unless you choose to do that.
Certainly don't see any reason to do that. Does anybody else?
No.
Mm. Do you have a little coin in hand to help the conversation along?
I've got a bit of money if you need.
Well, I'll go before we leave the tavern. I'll take Valeron's advice. Can I call you Val? Just shorter and easier.
Seeing as we may be spending some time at risk together, Hector, yeah, let's call it Val.
I'll take Val's advice. Go speak to the barman and see
Okay.
if we can.
So the
put that-
barman's Boris. He's a big gentleman human, but he stands a good sort of 6, maybe 6.5 foot. You wouldn't notice his height normally because he's also very wide as well. Bald pate, and tattoos. He's got a Borgengast accent. He is certainly not a local here. From the eastern parts of Europa. Was the room good for you? Huh? Yes, your secret's safe.
Served its purpose. Did the doe said he was going to leave some coin behind to cover
Coin.
future drinks?
You want to drink now?
Nope. I can put the coin to better use on the work.
I don't think you understand how it works. You see, he's gave me coin, so that you can drink here. He hasn't gave you coin stored behind here for you to take.
All right.
How about I give you half the coin he gave me, and we call it quits?
That'll work.
My friend, we have a deal. He kind of spits into his hand, which is kind of the size of a frying pan, and offers you to shake your hand.
I'll do it and then surreptitiously wipe my hand off on my gambus and the padded armor underneath my leather.
Yeah, if only it was that easy. Your gambeson is obviously soot covered with the smog, and it just all is just like, oh, never gonna get clean. He hands you across a small number of coins for the purposes of gaining information from beggars, though, easily enough. And it doesn't add to your gear. You can just add it to whatever coins you've got for the moment. And let's face it, it's not going to be in your pocket much long. And with that, we go to the other three, as Gideon has vanished for the moment, muttering to himself about Boris's spit. So, what would you like to do?
Head outside and strike up a conversation with Flo.
Okay, and you kind of move outside of the three valves, and it's like a typical smoke pub, especially in the squalor. There are several lanterns on the outside of the pub, sort of spilling kind of muted light out onto the street, creating this area of safety where those who can't squeeze into the pub itself are on the outside of it. Perhaps those that are so poor they can't actually afford drinks, so don't go in, but they are all hanging around, nestled in this light. And down one alleyway, you see Flo, a young urchin, a hair sort of not shaved but cut very short. Difficult to really say what gender they really are. Soot covering the face and hands, a wooden bowl in front of her. Of course, you know, Gideon, that whilst the soot is there, this soot has been rather skillfully applied for the utmost attentions. At the moment, she is sporting an eye patch. That was new. You don't remember having an eye patch last you saw her. Spare a few coppers. Spare a few coppers. Rat ate me eye. It did. It had a munch on my eyeball. It popped. It was horrible. I can't see.
Really now, Flo?
Ah, Gideon. How you doing, me mucker? She lifts her eye patch up, and her eye's perfectly okay.
It's good to see you.
And you with my good eye, as well as my other good eye. I can't really do this very well round here. We don't get much passing trade, but it's night, and in the day I'll be out by the bridges, and they love a good injury, especially tales about rats munching eyeballs.
Got to get the gold somehow.
Absolutely. You were a good beggar. I mean, you got a pretty face. Look at that pretty face of yours and that smile, always winning. Everybody loved you.
Well, no.
You never had to resort to like plucking your eye out.
Well, you're more than welcome to join me sometime. I'm sure we can put together something
Oh, a
special.
heist. Maybe the gear vault itself.
Let's perhaps aim a little lower than that, dear Flo.
I've heard the tales and the legends and some of the things in the Bacchanalia are out about thieves descending down on ropes to steal all of the gears. I'm really light.
We'll perhaps have to set it up sometime.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it though, I'm not a carver, am I? And I don't really want to intrude upon their jobs. So perhaps stick to the begging. Yeah.
Yes.
Uncle Pockets was asking about you. He was saying, I rue the day I let Gideon out of my little grasp. He was a good earner, was Gideon. So there's always room for you, you know, always room for you. Who are these fine folk? I mean, we've got two elves. Hello. And hello, mister. You got a few coins for me? I got better.
This we have Ellie. I might have got into a spot of trouble with her.
Ellie's a real pretty name.
Oh, thank you.
Do you like
That's
her?
actually my
Do
real name.
you like Ellie? You and her in a pot of trouble, eh? I've heard some tales about getting in pots of trouble as well.
Well, Uncle Pockets always does like to know everything around.
Oh,
One of his most admirable traits.
who's the other slightly older elf? Maybe, I don't know. I can't tell.
He got himself Valrond high. I don't think he likes me. I spotted trouble with Ellie. He seems a bit too protective.
And that's a nice tipfer you got on your head. I bet it keeps the acid rain off, he says, looking at you, Hector.
It does the business.
Yeah, can't beat a bit of cap on your head.
So this what was his name? Pockets Mr. That Father Pockets, Mr. Pockets. I forgot.
Uncle. He's my uncle.
Uncle.
He's uncle
Your
to
uncle
all the beggars, and he calls himself Pockets because boy does he have some pockets.
Uncle Pockets to all the beggars he gets around. Big family.
Yeah.
Does he know much about what's going on under the city?
We're the beggars. We kind of know. We got connections with the ratters. Yeah, I mean, we look out. They know the ways, the fast routes between A and B beneath the city, and they spend most of the time down there. But well, put it like this. Uh, Put it like this. There's a what's the word? A hierarchy thing. There are some guilds that think that they are better than us. They're right buggers. No one guild is better than another, but Uncle Pockets and Lord Gutter, the head of the Ratters, you will have heard of him, no doubt, and Uncle Pockets. Well, they're
Hector,
kindred spirits, you see.
Hector starts looking impatient.
Mhm.
Well, sorry, you asked. Yeah, they're tight, finger tight. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Because
I
we're
mean,
looking.
I'm giving all of this information out for free at the moment. There's no need for that kind of attitude, mister. No need for that.
Because we're looking for some information, and this time we can pay for it about something down. And he looks over at Valround. Down Slick Side, was it?
All right. Well, we're
Certainly
in
was.
Slickside, not far from the Squalor. It's where the docks are, a lot of warehousing, all of that kind of nonsense, really. Because of the jetties and the much of the slick is much closer to some of the properties. It's got a right stink down there. Dredgers base there as well. Dredgers Guild.
Hector mutters something to himself under his breath and carries on. So we're looking for a location down under the city, and Hector pauses and looks at the other members of the party as if almost asking for help, like this is not his forte.
Yeah. So Valron steps in, realizing that Hector's kind of somewhere between reaching the end of his patience and recall, perhaps. Yes, we do seek information. We do seek knowledge, something that we accept and know that between you and the Ratters are the best at the city. We're trying to make the best of your position and take no advantage because we have opportunity to pay for you here, but we are looking for something that is hidden.
Right.
There is the talk of chiromancy,
Right.
the splicing of animals, using both magic and anatomy in combination. Foul works, and we have a need to find where it might have taken place recently.
All right. So,
And for that,
what you're asking me then is the location of the workshops of Dr. Payne.
you clearly know more than I anticipated.
I'm a beggar. It's going to be dangerous, but yeah, I could do that. Let us see your coin. Let us see your coin. Now, in the smoke, gold, silver, copper still exist, but gold coins are called gears. Silver coins are called cogs. It's just a turn of phrase because of the industry that is here. So she says, you got a gear, and I'll Uncle Pockets will be happy with that information. And I'll do it specially
think I've
for
got
Gideon.
Well, Gideon, I think your reputation precedes you then, my friend. Thank you. Baron makes sure that Gideon has a gear to spend in this way.
Okay.
We will want to make sure we can get there and get back again. So do not lose us in the dark.
You want me to escort you as well? Whoa. Okay. It's going to be 2 then. We're going to have to give some coin to the Ratters. You can hold on to that, but you will be spending that. Just make sure.
Yep.
I'll take mine now, though, if that's okay.
Yeah, Valon makes sure that she's got a gear and she sees that there's another one in hand.
Perfect.
Money probably well spent.
Mm-hmm. She takes it from you and quite deftly locates it upon her scrawny frame. And with that, she skillfully takes you from the squalor to slick side. It is a journey that is hazardous and you want light. So I'm going to say that there is going to be a payment made. I either would like 2 torches to be crossed off, but as a devil's bargain, and this is pulp, you might want to keep your gear. I will accept 2 luck points instead.
Ooh.
Would it be possible for Val to attempt to cast the light spell, which would last a whole hour,
I like
and
this.
therefore save us either a torch or a luck point?
Okay. Yeah, I mean this is good because you can potentially spend your luck points. So
Yeah.
let me make Fancy Grounds appear once again because this is a dice roll. Okay. You can see chat. You can see that I've set up the next actual battle map already. So Malcolm, this is Shadowdark, and we're all learning to play at the moment. Shadowdark uses magic slightly differently, certainly to a lot of games I've played. Rather than having spell slots, you have to achieve a difficulty number, which I believe is 10 plus the level's spell. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. Yep.
So you roll a d20 and you add your spell casting, and you are a priest. So is that wisdom?
It is. Which by my stats would be a flat 0. But again, if we talk mechanics for a second,
Yep.
having taken Farsight as an elven priest, I can use the +1 on spellcasting checks.
Perfect.
So I'll be making a d20 +1 roll versus a target number of 11.
Okay.
If this fails, I would not be able to attempt to cast the spell again.
You do have luck
this
points.
day. Oh, yes.
I would like to do it. Yep. So let us see this roll. We're looking for 11 or more. 13 on the dice, +1, 14. No problem. And it's magic. You are skilled at this. This is what you do. The reason why we've decided on pulp is so that you can do this. And I'm always more than happy for you. When I make a devil's bargain, it's the devil in me that is tempting you to try and use your resources up. If you've got good ways like we have just seen, do this. I'm more than happy for you to do that. So a little bit of description from you. We've done the dry mechanics of it. What does your light look like? How does it appear? Is it cast upon something? Describe it to us all.
Yeah. As the group starts to lose the light of the 3 valves, there we go. I did remember the name of the pub. Hey, the 3 valves. You start to hear Valrond muttering effectively a prayer under her breath. her hands placed together. Her pace is slightly slower. You can see that she is deliberately doing two things at once, and she is determined that as her hands are pressed together, they open as the pages would of a book. And from there, a warm, soft glow starts. And then she literally has, and again, this could be dangerous, but yet glowing hands. And therefore, she can almost use them as a torch, use them as a general area, but an ability to provide sufficient light that the dangers are both aware that we are here, but also aware of the group being here.
Perfect. Very nice. And with that chance, you've summoned light, and that is going to be enough to get you from the Squalor to Slickside within an hour moving through this. With the skills of Flow navigating you, avoiding some of the dangers, you make your way, you cross the Slick itself, the river that flows through the heart of the city. And you come to a number of warehouses, and down one of the alleys that separate two of the warehouses, she stops at a manhole cover. It is at this point, it's taken you an hour, your light begins to fade. Would you like to do this second time?
Certainly, I will continue to take the devil's bargain, as it were.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have the light spell. This isn't a bargain. You can obviously, this is something that you can do. So recast it again. Again, target number is 11.
And unfortunately, on this occasion, I have only rolled a 6.
Yep.
My +1 would indicate a fail still. I will use one of my 4 luck points
Feel
to
free to
re-roll that dice.
burn them away. All I see with rerolls is critical fails coming. Oh, that was so close to a 1 as well. That is a 7.
Yeah.
+1 is an 8. So, I mean, you tried to cast it. It's gone dark. You tried to cast it once. It didn't. How do you react to try and cast it a second time?
The failure is disheartening. The failure to maintain my connection to the faith and belief that I have is challenged. And I have to express to the group that the darkness here is too strong. I'm unable to provide light as I have.
Okay.
As part of my penance is a word the mechanics use, but I would use it also as a character here to say, as part of my penance and the journey we are about to undertake, Valoron lights a torch of her own. If she cannot bring it herself, she feels an obligation to bring it with the gear that she carries.
Very nice. I like that. So you've now got an hour more of torchlight. What we're going to say is you descend down into the sewers. This is the sewer system, which is different to the rat run. The rat run is the underground transportation system, kind of like many modern underground transport systems, except this is the carriages are pulled on rails, but with cybernetically controlled giant rats instead, hence it being called the rat run. And as you descend down into the sewers, there is that terrible stench, especially here in Slickside, because much of the river has flowed into the sewers and it's kind of merged with the effluents. It is most unpleasant. You are guided by Flo a short distance, and then she bangs on a pipe 3 times, and it's kind of a sonorous sound, kind of reverberating along the sewers. very rapidly, sort of beady little red glows begin to appear as you see, at first thinking that they perhaps are vermin, but you see they are small, skinny individuals, two goblins in fact, clad head to toe in furs, rat pelts, each holding what seems to be a ratting stick,
Mhm.
and they come out and they look at you all and say, "What is your business down here? Lord Gutter does not like uninvited guests." Flo says they have coin and they wish something for it. I'll let them explain though. And she backs away, passing it across to you. Coin, you say? Lord Gutter likes his coin.
Indeed, we wish to exchange for some transportation to the lab of Dr. Bain.
I see, I see. We thought that a word has dribbled down like the rainwater down to us about Pain and the fact he perhaps won't be returning. Uh, hmm, okay, a deal and done. A coin, we will take you. Simple as. We like Flo. She's good to us. Uh, keeps the guilds of beggars and ratters friends.
Indeed, she
Has
is.
We
anybody
thank you for
else?
your time.
Has
Uh,
anybody else come looking for this place, Master
you,
Goblin?
you are first, and I have a name. Elf. I have a name. My name is Albert, and you can call me Bert.
Well, all right, Bert.
This is Ernie here. He's
Yeah.
he's the silent one. Doesn't say much.
Right, those are strange names, aren't they?
What's strange about Albert?
I think it's
Nothing. Never mind. You'll have to forgive our manners.
Ah, that's okay. Right, show me the coin, and we will go.
okay. I'll pass them a gear.
Okay, takes it. This time though, he bites down on it, and there's a grinding of teeth upon it. Spits something out. It's probably a bit of tooth. Kind of puts it away, and with that, Flo says, "Well, Gideon and Gideon's friends, it's been a pleasure, but to the streets above I go. Best of luck, and I won't say a word to anybody else. You can trust
Keep yourself safe.
always, always. Oh, dearie, I've lost an eye." And with that, she runs off.
Before she runs off, can I give her a few cogs?
Yeah, absolutely. You're always a good one. If you ever want to come back, there's always a place. He's always talking about you. Calls you pretty boy.
Yeah,
He says
did.
you got a face like an angel.
Well, I will certainly consider it.
There's no pressure. You're on to bigger things here. Look at you doing some work for, well, I'm guessing a dough, but you don't need to tell me. I know that kind of thing is hush hush. Anyway, thank you for the extra coin. Appreciate it. Albert, or Bert rather, says, "I ain't got all night. I've got to do some rat catching. We're not too far. You seem to know roughly where it is anyway. just round the corner, in fact, but you probably wouldn't see it. It's kind of hidden a little bit. We
That's
normally,
what the coin is for.
yeah, indeed, indeed. And he crosses kind of a rickety piece of plank that crosses from one side of the sewer to the other, and begins to lead you deeper into the sewers. And it is truly horrific. There's sort of liquid dropping from the ceiling, and there's the sewer gutter coming from this. You can see that there are vermin all over, and very occasionally Albert sort of stabs with his stick and catches yet another rat that squeals and is stuck upon the stick.
Say, Bert, have you seen any of those pigeon rats?
Pigeon rats. Wow, we don't get many flying things down here. I thought pigeons were rats. They were rats that weren't rats, but are rats, kind of sky rats. Are they not sky rats already?
Oh, I'm not sure. Somebody said Dr. Payne was making pigeon rats.
Pigeon rats. Well, I'll tell you what, Uncle Pockets might like some of those. He uses pigeons to send messages all over the city.
Heck,
Pigeons can talk?
Can pigeons talk?
Hector
I
just
don't
got
know. How do they do messages if they can't talk?
They carry messages. They,
They
Hector,
don't have hands. How do they carry messages?
we have this lovely little harness attached to their leg. We write a little note into it, and off they go.
Secrets of the
Harness.
Beggars Guild, you see. You must be very close, you two. Anyway, it's been a pleasure, but we are here. And he bangs his stick against the wall.
Ooh.
Oh, if I were to part with an extra 5 cogs for you, would you be able to give anybody that might also come asking a bit of a longer route so we have more time before they arrive?
Oh, I believe the posh folk up in the city would call that shenanigans. And I like it. And I like your gold even more. You notice that there is a degree of charm about Gideon. Not just the coin, but the way that he talks. He just seems to say the right thing at the right moment. And his words laced with that currency certainly do the job. Again, there's no need for roles here. This is what you excel at, and with the promise of extra coins, we'll give them a right run around. There's some terrible sights in the sewers. We'll show them some of those. Have you ever seen a fatberg?
I have not.
It's a delight to behold. Imagine a big globule of fat and, well, poop, all melded together in a gigantic blockage. I'll go and show them one of those.
Thank you, it is greatly appreciated.
And if you ever come back and you want to have a look at one of the great fatbergs of the smoke, happy to give you a tour as well.
Thank you, Albert. I will certainly remember and ask for you if I get the chance.
Yeah, you ask for Bert. Right, come on, Ernie. He takes the coins from you. We've got a job to do. Got to keep these safe and undisturbed with shenanigans. And they scootle off. You are obviously aware that not all ratters are goblins. They are of many different ancestries. So the wall that you're looking at, it just looks like a wall, but you notice it's slightly different to kind of the rest of the sewer walls. Looks kind of newer, looks less filthy. Most definitely some kind of secret sort of doorway of sorts. You're not sure whether Bert or even Ernie kind of knows how to do it, but they've certainly brought you to the right place. How are you going to go about this, trying to find access to these workshops?
I
I
have
think
a
Ellie's quite used to getting into places that are not
Yeah.
typically open for business, so she might have a quick look and see if there's any irregularities in the wall or any mechanisms that she could spot.
Okay, your keen eyes sort of look, and there is indeed what appears to be a closer examination of brick, a small brick that seems to be missing. It's a little bit of a chance. You're going to have to stick your hand in or get somebody else's to stick their hand into this dark hole. But you think that there's probably some kind of pressure, a sort of button or a flagstone that will move that will cause this wall to open up.
Val, could you stick your hand over just so we could see? I think this is maybe the doorknob.
I'm glad
Don't
you
stick
asked
it in.
before putting.
Don't stick it in. There might be something pointy in there.
So the light of your hand sort of passes across, and
The torch, you mean?
oh, sorry, the
Yeah.
torch. Yeah, because you.
Oh, we're back to a torch.
Yeah, we are
Yeah.
back to the torch. Thank you
Mm.
for reminding me. And it's been sort of a good 15 minutes since you've descended down now. We're not quite
hmm
going to go to initiatives and real time yet. The torchlight sort of scans around, and as you look in, it does indeed seem that that there's some kind of metal spike at the top, but at the bottom of this sort of niche, if you keep your hands sort of steady and flat, you can push it in and then push it down. If you were just to put your hand roughly in, you might have cut it upon this spike. But it's easy enough to do now. You've got the light and you've carefully examined it.
Ellie would, with Val's help, very carefully stick her hand in and try
Yeah.
and depress the mechanism.
Okay, you push it down. And with the skill that you had, you realised there was no chance that the spike wasn't going to stab into your hand either on pressing that. There is the sound of stone grinding on stone as this part of the sewer wall just seems to rotate somewhat, leading into a darkened tunnel. The light of your torch sort of shines, and we can show that to you now. Give me a moment. Boom, and move across to Fantasy Grounds. Just need to change this from light to torch. And I'm going to share this map with you, everybody, on Fantasy Grounds. So you should now, to the north of you is the wall that has rotated round. To the south, disappearing into the darkness, is this tunnel that seems to stretch away from you. I have put you in a particular order, but that was just to get you onto the map itself. Okay, so the rules for crawling are now in place. So you have had 15 minutes on your torch. So you have 45 minutes of real time until your torch burns out. You're not in combat, obviously, but the crawling rules mean that you move in initiative order. So I would like you all to roll initiative. And for those who are watching, it is suggested in Shadowdark that whoever gets the highest initiative, it just goes in clockwise order. But because we're not round a physical table, and because we've got a combat tracker, we're doing initiative in the order that people have sort of rolled them. So we're just looking for Hector, who is connected but not actually in Fancy Grounds at the moment. You might need to reconnect onto the table itself.
Yes, it did crash. Technical difficulty.
Yeah,
The gremlins.
that is absolutely fine. So we'll quickly wait for you to do that. I've moved
While I'm loading up,
Yeah.
Hector will pass a torch to Valrond with words of thanks for handling that earlier with the with Flo. I'm not very good at speaking. I don't like taking the long way around a conversation. I like to go straight through it, and it doesn't always go well with people.
And given we are about to enter the darkness and put ourselves at risk, sometimes that is correct and the way we should get things done.
Yep. So, like I said, I've taken a torch out of my inventory to give to Val.
Yeah, that's okay.
And as this dark tunnel opens up, Hector's gonna get his shield out in front of him and hold his spear in preparation for whatever might be down there.
Perfect. Okay, just as a reminder, I'm sure you've used, well, have you got the space for an extra torch first and foremost, Val?
Given,
Because
that's actually an interesting question. The one that I am carrying is no longer in my backpack, so yes.
Perfect. Yeah.
I will be carrying the lit one. I have replaced that with the gift, more than positively received. Yes, gear slots, strength of 9. I am at capacity.
Perfect.
And the torch is burning.
Excellent. So all we need for you to do, Hector, is if you go to the main page of your character sheet, slap in the middle of it is your initiative, INIT. If you double left click on that, it should roll the initiative for you. There we go. So even with a -2 to your roll, Hector, you're not going last. So everybody in chat can see now that I've got the combat tracker up. Val is acting on an 18, Ellie's acting on a 15, Hector is acting on a 6, and Gideon is acting on 5, which is very nice. Okay, and because we're all new to Shadowdark, you all get an action, a single action, and you get a move as well. You can move your move speed, which is probably near around about 30 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So you can spend luck tokens to do an extra action should you wish to. So we'll move to the top of that initiative. Val, what would you like to do?
Feeling braver than she thought she might at this point, Val having the armed man beside her, for the moment at least, takes cautious steps into the tunnel before her and makes a full near move to see what happens.
Let me unlock the tokens. Okay, so you have.
Thank you. That's
no,
that.
No, you can move now. That is good.
Yep.
So feel free to move. As you move down into this chamber, you instantly hear sort of noises, both from the what would be considered the eastern and from the southern tunnels. It's guttural. It sounds like numerous voices It kind of sounds like guttural goblin noises. Because of the light, we're going to go straight into, in effect, combat. So you'll stay with the same initiatives. That is not a problem. I'm going to roll initiatives for these two individuals here. So the first one is going on a 17. This is fun, and the second one is going on an 8.
Andy,
Yes,
mild technical difficulty. I can't see the map on Fantasy Ground.
it's okay. I will share it with you. It's because you wasn't in when I previously shared it.
Yeah, that would be a... Thank you.
So, Velrond, you've only had your move, so you do have an action ahead of you. You can definitely hear things and maybe get a little glimpse of something either side of you. And as you peer into that dim light beyond the main light, you see this hideous, monster-mashed goblin. It seems like two goblins have been merged into one. Let's have a look at this, and I will share this with our players as well.
Ooh.
Yes, it is a horror to behold. Both mouths.
It's a super goblin.
Yes, maybe. So, Val, you have the rest of your turn ahead of you. What would you like to do?
Mace is prepared. I am anticipating aggressive action from the monstrosity. So I will just hold and wait. I know there's no official hold action in the mechanics of the game, but I'm taking no further action.
You don't want to move back now that you've determined it?
No,
Okay.
I would be holding, waiting for the group to reach me.
Okay, you stand there in anticipation.
I don't know it's going quite so quickly.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Okay, and with that, we move to this one here. And it is going to move 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You can all see this thing now. It's still small in size, but it's been mashed together. Perhaps the hideous work of Dr. Payne himself. It has got this wicked-looking morning star, which it raises up and takes a swipe at you. Oh, that was almost that 18 on the dice there, but it is only a 2. You evade the blow, managing to, perhaps with your elven sort of dexterity, manage to move out of the way. That is all it can do for the moment. It's gibbering, both of its mouths chattering. This look of bemusement from these beady little red eyes. When we move to Ellie.
Right, Andy, I've just checked my sheet for my short bow, which I was about to pull out and get busy with, and I somehow had a plus 20 to hit, which doesn't sound very
Plus 20 to hit. I know this is pulp style Shadowdark.
So can you remind me, it's going to be my dex modifier, isn't it?
I believe so. You've got plus 4, plus 8.
Yeah. So it's somehow taken what? Why is it doing that?
So you should
just be a plus 4.
Should be just plus 4, I believe. Because
that's fine.
Okay. So
that's fine. Give me 1 second. So Ellie's going to pull out her short bow.
Yep.
Seeing this thing run up to Valorant, and she is going to try to stop it in its tracks. She's never seen anything like this, so she's a bit She's a bit scared, but luckily it's well illuminated by the torch. She
Yeah.
goes ahead and shoots. I don't know why it's given me some kind of advantage on that.
Short bow, non.
Or disadvantage.
It's okay. So you hit anyway. Because it's taken
Good.
the lower of the two rolls, so don't worry too much about that. It might be the fact that we haven't overly programmed it properly.
Good.
But yeah,
Let's see about the damage.
heavily damaged as you nick it for 3 points. Very nice.
And I don't. The door's shut behind us.
Well, I mean, you could go back out into the sewers, but this is Shadowdark. It's more about pushing ahead than trying to retreat. Plus,
Okay.
I mean,
says the man who doesn't have 1 hit point.
But I mean, your companion Val, who has saved you many times, is face to face. Plus, it's very dark outside in the sewers, and there is probably something substantially
that is the compelling reason.
Yeah, substantially worse
Yeah.
out there than in here. At least you can see this thing here.
I will hold my ground
and
shout words of encouragement to Val.
And realistically, I have not programmed the map for the outside sewers, so you can easily say theatre of mind. I step out and take cover if you wish to. It's not a problem.
You've reminded me it's dark. I have no interest in stepping out there.
Well, let's see what happens here as this one moves 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. They are one slot off. So it kind of is going to leap across to that side there, kind of out of the way somewhat, but can't attack this round. Then we move to Hector.
Yes. Hector is 1, 2. He, with a great war cry of "Wah!" is going to charge at the goblin.
Perfect.
And attack it. And now, as a fighter in Shadowdark, I get a trait called Weapon Mastery.
Yep.
Which gives me +1 to my attacks with a chosen type of weapon, in this case, spear.
Yep.
Yeah, because I'm a human. Fighters also get to roll a talent, and because I'm a human, I get to roll an extra talent. And I rolled, in character creation, I rolled +1 to melee and ranged attacks.
Perfect.
So I believe with the spear, I should have +3 to hit.
+3 to hit.
So
just give me a moment, for it's only showing +2.
Yeah.
But we can.
I think I'm going to need every single point of that, advantage. So,
okay. So
on that note, I shall try to stab the goblin with.
So you're kind of new to Fancy Round, so if you control left click on the token, that will allow you to target it.
Control left click.
That you've got it. And then if you press your attack, it should roll the dice for you.
No. Mm-hmm.
So if you go to your actions page.
Yep, I'm in the actions page.
You see where it's got the dice and the +3 box. Left click there. It might be a double left click.
Or I could just click and drag.
Yeah, you can click it.
I
would remind you, you've got 2 luck tokens. You wish to use one for the moment?
Why not? Let's do that.
And don't forget, at the start of each session, you roll another d4. So spend.
If for nothing else, it shows how it works. So come on.
So yes, you stab and I don't know if it's just the horror of this thing coming out.
I think so. I think this creature is so outside of Hector's experience that he's put off by it.
Absolutely. But you are in the fray now at the very least.
Yes.
Then we move to Gideon.
There's not much chance of this working, but I am going to start storming forward and yell out, "How dare you attack us? We are the devotees of Dr. Payne. We are here on his orders. Stand down."
Ah, dear, these don't have much of a mind. They don't recognise you either. I mean, this is a difficult situation, so if it was perhaps a little bit more relaxed, maybe your charms, which have worked on obviously Flo and the others, Albert and the like, even the Doe to some degree, would almost automatically work. But in this case, it is difficult. So I'm going to ask you to give me a charisma roll, and it's a check, but it is going to be difficult. So I'm going to set the DC at 17.
Okay, let's give it a go.
I love it when the dice tell a
Wow.
story. I knew you had a good charisma. So, with the quick thinking of you, Gideon, the words, they kind of hit them harder than any melee weapon. Maybe it is the way that you barked orders, or maybe simply it was using his name, but very much in the style of hitting a guard dog on the nose with a rolled up pinch press. You subdue these creatures as they begin to stop hostilities and grovel. No intelligent words coming from their two maws, but they are certainly neutral to you now rather than hostile. I would like to remind everybody that Shadowdark experience is gained by not slaying monsters or overcoming them even. It's about getting the rewards and the spoils and the tasks. So this is definitely a viable option to be done. It was very challenging, but well done, Gideon. The dice have spoken, and these are subdued and cowed. They're not necessarily going to understand or follow your commands, but they certainly are going to not trouble you for the moment anyway. We will still stay in initiative though, because that is the way Shadowdark works. So is there anything else you would like to do? You've had your action, that most definitely counts as an action. You have the rest of your move should you wish it. If not, we will head up to Valrond.
I'll go behind Hector and just go to him. Words can avoid situations. It's always worth giving them a try.
Oh, that was a little... then we move to Valrond.
Very surprised by the turn of events and these creatures becoming significantly less hostile.
You're not the only
Yet,
one.
yeah, that is the way dice games go. Tentatively, and with all fear in her throat, Val walks between the monsters, attempting to get a better look at the rest of the room.
Okay. Yeah, the light spills out from your torch.
There.
They're cowering down at the moment, sort of almost trembling, sort of feral, bestial. You don't get the impression they are going to trouble you. And as you enter this room, it's remarkably barren and empty, more of an antechamber than anything else. Maybe a reception area, or perhaps even the very basics of a guard room. These creatures most definitely look like they have been created as watchdogs, as guards. So beyond that, there is no furniture or decoration within this chamber. You do, though, see a passageway leading to the east, sort of about 5-foot-ish wide, and a sort of 10-foot passageway leading to the south. Beyond that, nothing worth any kind of investigations.
Okay. Is there any strong trail been left in the ground? If it's dust or grime or the usual smoke, smog filled underfoot, can I see which is the most common passage used, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, you've said you're using your action to examine the chamber, which is perfectly acceptable. So let me make a judgment call upon that. So you can probably just barely make out. There seems to be more activity to the south than to the east. But that said, it's very subtle. It's very subtle. The passageway to the east has definitely seen movement as well. So with that, you've got a little bit more move if you want it. If not, we will carry on.
Given that the torchlight only reacheth so far, I shall allow Ellie to catch up with us.
Yep, perfect. And this monster mashed goblin guard just cowers. So much so that it doesn't really have even a name, just monster mashed goblin guard number 1. Ellie, what would you like to do? You have a move and an action.
So Ellie squeaks and looks behind her just to make sure there's nothing coming out of the dark. And then she moves up to near. And she's going to get a closer look at these creatures and just see what they're carrying, what they're holding, anything about their persons.
The only thing they're really carrying is what appears to be a morning star. I know I showed you the picture with it really tooled up, but you don't want that many attacks against you now, do you? So it's basically got a very basic morning star, but it's fairly obvious this has been brought down from the city above. This is the kind of thing that could be brought in any forge. So you draw the conclusion that these have been armed from the city above deliberately. They sort of see you and they are sniffing you now as you kind of look at them, trying to get your scent.
Give me that. And she would grab the morning star from one of them and fling it towards the door.
Okay.
Continuing the bad dog theme.
Okay. Are you wanting them to chase it down? Are you taking it off them and throwing it with the intent?
No, this is not playful. This is naughty dog. That's
dog.
not
Yeah,
for you.
okay. Yeah, it cowers back again. The words of Gideon still ringing through their very limited psyche. You sort of snatch it off them. There's no real resistance and cast it back. I believe that is you done.
It is.
For cinematics, we'll say that you did that to Monster Mashed Goblin Guard number 1. Quite pitifully, Monster
Is
Mashed.
that the one that I hit with the bow?
Yeah. Monster Mashed Goblin Guard number 2 sort of sees what you did, and rather than trying to keep it close to him, kind of tentatively sort of offers it you. You know,
take it and fling it.
Yeah, you could do that as well, but no aggressive actions. Hector, what would you like to do?
I will sort of glower down at the goblin and, aware that time is always pressing in the dark places of the city, I'm going to take my full movement to sort of move over to this passage.
Yeah, Perfect.
and take a look down it as best I can.
Yeah, you can see the light does shine down it, and it seems to go maybe sort of a near distance and then turn to the south as well. You obviously are not just looking at the passage, you're kind of listening and trying to determine.
Yeah.
You can't hear anything down there.
Mm.
Doesn't appear to be any more of these things for the moment. Is
So
that
I'm
you?
going.
Yeah.
I was going to use the rest of my movement because I believe I've only used a portion
Yeah, yeah.
of it to move down here, and I think that's about my full movement.
Yeah, that sounds
so
good.
I've moved down there
Yeah, I mean,
in a ready position.
whilst there is a degree of how far you can move, it's fairly flexible. So you kind of look down there, and again, it just disappears off into the darkness. And then we move to Gideon.
And similarly, just going to move forward, take a look in the room, look around.
You can tell that Val has examined the room at length. There's no real need, other than your own curiosity, to cast an eye around it. One of the things about Shadowdark is, don't forget you are on a light timer, so time is a precious resource.
Okay, so east or south?
South seems the busiest passage, but not by much.
Good a reason as any.
My thoughts exactly. And it's bigger.
Yeah. Easier to maneuver.
Mm-hmm. You
Come
keeping up with us, Ali?
Coming. I just need to get my arrow out of this thing.
Oh yes, arrows in Shadowdark. We're not entirely sure what the rules as written are, so we've not homebrewed it. We're just using the system that you can get 50% of your arrows back. So yeah,
What's
you can.
50% of one, Andy?
Well, technically it is half, so you can get half an arrow back. But I'll be generous. If you want to spend one of your luck tokens, you can have that arrow back. If not, half an arrow is no good and it is lost. What would you
I'm
like
not
to
going
do?
to spend a luck token on an arrow. Thank you very much. But she will put her boot against the monster mash and attempt to pull the arrow out, but unfortunately it snaps
Yeah,
in
it
half
just
as she pulls it.
snaps. It whimpers as you very brutally kind of pull this out, still leaving the barbed bit in its flesh.
Hector will look over his shoulder and go, "Can we try not to anger them again?"
We seem to have sort of moved out of initiative slightly, so we'll roll that back a little bit, and you will do that on your turn.
Yeah.
Ellie, Val, it is indeed your go first.
Yeah. So just we called south. He's going to take use of her full movement, and then starts to see the next chamber appear.
Yeah, this is again sort of almost a crossroads. Nothing of particular interest in this adjoining sort of chamber, really. You can see that there is a set of doors to the west. There's a set of doors to the east, and then the large passageway heading south still.
I call out to the group, keep up, we're delving, we're crawling.
Okay. Nothing happens to these. Ellie, you rip your arrow out, but you can carry on moving if you want.
Oh, definitely. Again, a little squeak because she's getting left in the dark and it's a bit creepy.
Guess I'm not being a very good big sister at the minute.
I think I will just go ahead and do kind of double movement to get away.
That is fine. Then we move to Hector.
That's my action in that way.
Hector, I will move up again to keep pace with the rest of the party in very much a prepared position of expecting anything to come leaping out of the dark at the time. He's got his shield in front.
Perfect. And then Gideon.
Mm,
Yeah, as the light leaves the Monster Mash goblins, you kind of see they're going to sort of limp down and pick up their thrown morning stars and retain their watch. They're not going to trouble you at the moment at all.
I guess I'll see if I can scan for foot traffic.
Yeah, you sort of look around, and again, there's not that much of a difference until your eyes begin to sort of notice there is some kind of a trail leading from the east and heading down to the south. It's some kind of almost spillage. It looks like some chemicals have been sloshed over the floor. Probably by mistake. It doesn't look deliberate, and you can kind of smell, kind of like when you pass the Hatters Guild, that kind of smell of. Is it a smell or is it a taste at the back of your throat? Something
Ooh.
acrid. And it looks like the spillagers sort of someone that was travelling from the east to the south has made that spillage. And of course, that is your turn having a look around there. Then we move to Val.
Given that we expect the journey to continue south, full movement south. What do we find?
Okay, so
Get
things
to about there.
Yeah, as you get to about there, you hear a sort of noise. Just let me get this. As your light sort of spills around
Mm.
the corner. You hear who that? Who that? More for me. More for me. Be now clever me. You hear this voice. I suppose that is you. You hear
Yeah.
sort of the creaking of furniture, kind of something very heavy lifting himself off, sort of maybe a wooden chair or a table.
I make sure the group's aware that there's something further down here.
Ellie, you'll go.
Ellie's going to try and move up and take up a position just around the corner so she can duck her head round and see Valorant and see what's kind of going on, but she doesn't want to get any closer at this point.
Okay,
She'd
that
like
makes
to try and
sense.
hide here, essentially.
You hear more words again as this voice issues. Come to Igor. Let me use my saw. Let me crack your skull and sup upon your brain so I'm as clever as Pain. That is all, though. There's no movement from there. Hector, you'll go.
Yes, Hector, taking stock of his party and their equipment and his own, is going to come down, not with any war cry this time, but just come down to this intersection and just get himself around the corner, sort of forming becoming a barrier to whatever might come out to get them, and sort of put himself in the front with that big shield of his.
That's very good. Unfortunately, the light itself doesn't spill round in any
Yeah.
way to really help you.
Yeah, that's why he's only gone that far. He's not plunging into the dark.
It seems, though, this voice has seen you, and he makes it known. I spy you. Will your brain give me smarts?
No, it won't.
And then we move to Gideon.
Might as well give it a go. Let's go. Igor, Dr. Payne has been discovered by the guild. He has sent us to go and retrieve his notebook before any others can get here. He wants you to come with us and to help him get out of the smoke.
It seems that Igor does not like this. Igor says, me boss now. Me got smarts. Me smarter. Me boss. It seems there is no persuading this time, as nice as it might be. He is set on a task, a path that certainly that is not going to persuade him from. So that is a move and an action, and we move back to Val.
Can I see the Igor from here?
No, the line of sight
Ooh.
and the fact of no light. One of the great things about, and people watching the video and catch up can see the layout and what you can and can't see. So I'm afraid you're going to have to get closer or do something.
Then Valrond bravely, perhaps stupidly, gets a little bit... now the room becomes visible.
Yeah. So, first and foremost, this doesn't cost you your action. I'm just going to do a description of the room for you.
Sure.
What you basically see is, a large individual, probably about as large as Boris, and about as handsome, really. Except this individual has been stitched together, Frankenstein's monster-esque, a different arm on each shoulder. One leg is shorter than the other, so he kind of stoops somewhat. There's a large sort of fatty, fleshy, bony hump upon his back. That is what Igor looks like, and you see that he's got in his hand what appears to be a brain, and he's currently gnawing on it. You see that there are many jars smashed around him, with the remnants of consumed brains upon it. The floor very slick with chemicals, probably preservatives. The rest of the room looks more like a seating area or a table for dining at, rather than a laboratory. He was making himself comfortable here, maybe doing what Payne used to do, feast here. Of course, his diet is seemingly brains. He seems to think that they will make him cleverer, maybe as clever as Dr. Payne himself. That is what you see here.
Val, quite taken aback by the horror and the monstrosity before her, starts to chant, starts to pray in the kind of fervour you would expect of an exorcism. Right. She's going to attempt, for her action this turn undead to see whether it would have an effect upon the creature.
Okay. I like this. and I'm going to give you a luck point back
Ooh.
because I want you still to roll, and we will see. But I think you are not entirely sure whether this is an undead, but you're still trying to do that
Yes.
because it's what your character would do. Hence the
Yes.
luck point.
Right.
So yeah.
I have the mechanics for turn undead in front of me, is all I was going to say.
No, please describe them.
So the undead creature near you must make a charisma check opposed by my spellcasting check.
Okay.
So you would roll with any charisma modifier.
Yeah.
I would roll with my spellcasting modifier. We've already agreed it's just the +1.
Yeah.
If you fail by 10 or more points, and it's equal or less than your level. I don't know quite how monster levels work yet. It is destroyed. Otherwise,
yeah, I was going to say all monsters have basically a level. It's basically the equivalent of a CR rating.
Yep. But if it fails, but not by more than 10 points, it must flee for 5 rounds.
Okay, that sounds good. And is there a spell check involved with this, or is it just
No? It's the opposed roll between us.
It's just something. So priest can cast turn undead fundamentally at will, or if you. Yeah, well, that's interesting.
If I fail, I won't be able to try it again for the rest of the day, I would accept.
Yeah. No, I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to work out the mechanics of this. This is quite interesting. Okay, so I'm going to make a charisma roll. You might have guessed his charisma is not the strongest. He has got a -3 to this, getting a 4. But you have got a natural 1.
I might spend that luck point, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, you do this. The GM gives and takes away. Now a 19 is much better. I think with some modes, I might suggest that you can't use luck points on critical fails, but we're playing pulp.
Fair.
No, we're playing pulp, so I think it's totally appropriate. But of course, as much as I would like you to be successful, it is unfortunately a construct. It is not undead. It is one of these living organisms, these chimeras. So you describe how this works.
Yeah, I am chanting with a fervour that Ellie would never have seen before. This is an expression of her faith at its extreme. That there is a holy symbol in her hand thrust in its direction, and to her bafflement, it is having absolutely no effect at this time.
Okay.
And the turn passes.
I don't know. I mean, 2 fails of your light spell, and now you are unable to turn undead. You believe it's undead. A crisis of faith coming up, I think.
Certainly could.
We move to Ellie. You hear this chanting.
Yeah, certainly can't see it. Ellie's going to try and creep forward as stealthily as she can to see if she can see what's going on and try and help Valrond. So I'm guessing that the creature is approximate to Valrond around the corner. And I might try and quickly whip my head around there and see if I can crack off a shot at the creature.
Absolutely.
Wondering, hoping if my backstab maneuver might work.
If you can give me a good enough description of how you're stealthing forward, I will say it automatically succeeds. You're out of line of sight of him. He's distracted by the others, and there's the sound of the chanting of Val. So give me a cinematic description.
So I think this is this is essentially the classic kind of pressed up against the wall, flat as a pancake, very quickly spinning to get from one wall to the other in front of Gideon, and then just pressed up against the wall, and somehow managing not to catch the buckles of her armor, managing not to stumble over any unevenness in the ground. You can tell she's used to essentially Mission Impossible style
Perfect.
movements in the dark or light.
Yeah, I like this. And this is your wheelhouse. You are a thief, and you have a very high dexterity. So certainly in this case, he's never seen you before. You are emerging from the darkness. There's a lot of other ambient noise going on. So if you want to target Igor, you can do.
Okay. I'm going to have to reveal myself to
Yeah.
target him. So I'll target him. And then I've worked out what was going on with my attack earlier, so this should be appropriate.
Perfect.
Oh no, still give me advantage and disadvantage.
Okay, so
if
you click the ADV button
I
and
will
then
click
roll,
ADV.
it's giving you disadvantage because it says you are non-proficient in it.
I
So
gave myself proficiency in it to try and help.
we can edit that mechanically, but you hit with a 13. And you do indeed get your sneak attack. So I was going to say for the for the benefit,
My backstab.
for the purposes of your sneak attack, what does that mean?
Do you want me to describe the skill? Do you mean?
No, I mean sort of mechanically, rules wise, because we've got people here that perhaps who are watching that are new to Shadowdark.
Absolutely. So this is it's I guess Andy's kind of referring to it as sneak attack. In Shadowdark, it's called backstab.
It is.
And what the rules say is No, I'm just helping to clarify.
Thank you very much.
It's very different to sneak attack, actually. If you hit a creature who's unaware of your attack, you deal an extra weapon die of damage. Add additional weapon die of damage equal to half your level rounded down. Now, I think functionally, this probably means I don't add anything because I'm level 1. So we've already had this conversation that half of 1 is a half. Unless you'd like me to roll a D2.
I think you must get it at
level 1.
I can't see a reason why not.
So a minimum of 1.
Minimum of 1, yeah. And this is pulp anyway.
Okay.
So roll it again. You've done 3 points of damage so far, and
another 3.
There's another 3, yeah. Don't worry about it saying resisted. That's because the monster is coded wrong. It does take the damage.
Everything's coded wrong.
It's okay because we're using Fantasy Grounds and we've had to mess around with it because there's not a dedicated Shadowdark system for it at the moment. But it is functioning nice. That is 6 points of damage. You see that your shot heavily wounds it. Cinematically, this means it really, really did not like that, and you hurt it a lot. How did your backstab function? How did you do this critical hit upon it?
So I think because it wasn't aware that I was coming, it just gave me that extra beat, so I could get a really good look at it and take my breath. And then as I'm releasing the arrow, I'm breathing out, so there's no movement, so my arrow flies nice and true and hits exactly the way that I want it to.
Okay.
And then I step back.
Yeah. Seems though you might have turned it berserk, which it has, and it is its go as it enters some kind of
I said I step back.
Ungodly rage, and you see it reach behind it as it picks up this very large serrated blade, very heavy, unwieldy, really designed for cutting through bones. And then he charges the closest individual, which is you, Val, swinging this unfeasible weapon upon you. And it comes crashing down, or for a natural 20, a critical hit. This is Pulp.
I was going to say, I was thinking of calling for the luck point even if you hit, never mind critically. So I would ask you to try again, sir.
Yes, absolutely. Before I do, I want you to tell me how this luck clicks in. How do you manage to dodge this attack?
Continuing the chanting, and you even used the phrase unholy rage, so there is a definite contention here. I feel, though it isn't retreating, the connection to my faith is stronger than I thought, and just able to anticipate the stumbling nature of the beast man creature thing. So yeah, just between its ungainliness and my confidence in self at this time, I'm able to keep myself separated from it.
Perfect.
Until it has another roll.
Yeah. So cinematic, it hasn't got multi-attack, but cinematically he missed with that, and let's see whether it connects with you. It does not. Perhaps there is some of your god with you still, as you manage to escape that terrible blow. And I quite like to do this occasionally. So the saw misses you, slams into the wall, and does 6 points of damage. So that was a good dodge there. Bits of wall sort of crack as this terrible looking bone saw just misses you. Then we move to Hector.
Before I describe my action, I'm going to cast all our memories back to our session 0, where we spoke about how we were narratively driven.
Yep.
As Val starts his feverish religious chanting, Hector looks at her askance and seems very put off by this. And as whatever she's doing seems to fail, Hector sort of looks at her in those moments before the charge and says that we must put our faith in steel instead. I am going to try and charge around or possibly through Val, depending on how the mechanics work.
Yeah.
To sort of shield barge this thing and push it back a little bit. And just as I go to do that, I need to ask our storyteller something, because I've had a little timer running in the bottom of my computer screen.
Yeah.
Does our torch go out just as he does this?
Yeah, I think that is about right. I have been keeping an eye on it, and it's great minds think alike, but you get rewarded for suboptimal play. So you, Hector, get a luck point.
Sure.
And it's quite fun, really, because I can literally do this. The lights indeed do go out.
Fantasy Ground, in response, in sort of coordination with the torch going out, my Fantasy Ground seems to have crashed. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No. I mean, are you talking just about the map?
No, the whole piece of software has gone down, so I can't even roll.
Okay.
I will relaunch that, and I think that'll be my turn.
Okay.
So I will try and relaunch Fantasy Grounds.
Would you like to have an attack against this creature as you charge forward? Because I can control things for narrative.
Yeah, let's make that a sort of a, I don't know if it would count as a push attack or just be a regular melee, but I want to get this thing confronted, using my bulk and my armor.
Okay. So that was very good. I enjoyed that description, and you kind of want to push it back. So I will give you a choice here. You can make a melee attack, but it will be at disadvantage now that you are in the dark.
Yep.
Or this thing is bulky enough for you to basically almost rugby tackle it, or which will be a strength check instead. What?
Let's. I have done this very.
Okay, we might have lost you there as well. Technical problems, everybody. Wait. So what I'm going to do here is do an opposed strength check.
Thank
So
you.
this will be Hector's strength roll. Wow, Hector, you've just got a 21, a natural 20 on that. So unless the Sawbones gets a natural 20, which it doesn't, it only gets a 12. I'm going to give narrative control. It's a good job I rolled that. You must be very happy. I'm going to give narrative control to you, Hector. I mean, you've exceeded it by almost twice. It was also a natural 20, which is going to give you a degree of extra success. If you want to chuck a luck point at me, you can really pin this thing down should you wish to. But I want description from you, please.
I think that, you know, as Hector charges forward, he sort of almost uses his he almost tries to push Val out of the way. I think he's forming a connection with Val in earlier discussion and interaction. And so he's like, I gotta get Val out of the way, gotta protect the priest, and also I'm just and then as the torch that she's holding goes out, and maybe the torch going out is a combination of, you know, she's pushed into the wall or pushed away and drops the torch maybe, or maybe it just goes out in that moment and it's bad luck.
Yeah.
He's just gonna sort of head down behind his shield and just he knows that big huge thing's there. He's just gonna even drop his shoulder and charge even further and harder into it and just hope that he connects with this great slab of monstrosity.
Perfect. You do connect, and you connect very well. Val, you feel Hector, you hear Hector kind of almost pull you into a position of safety, throwing himself sort of without qualm about his own safety at this slab of stitched flesh. They both disappear off into the darkness. You can hear them ahead of you, but you have no idea whether one is more successful than the other. Beautifully done, Hector. Very lucky. Okay, we move to Gideon.
Hey. Gideon is first of all cursing himself, going, Uncle Pockets is always right. I should have made sure he saw my pretty face before I tried to talk to him. Then I'm going to grab a torch out of my pack and try and scrape it against the wall to cause a spark.
Okay, so you're going to light a torch, which I'm going to let you do as an action. I'm going to be a little bit generous. It is pulpy here, and we are coming towards the end of the session. So, let there be light. I love the effects here.
So, what's all this fuss about? Oh. Ooh.
Okay, so compromising position. You have this stitched wherever you want it, Hector. How are you wrestling this thing?
I would like to think that, Hector spent a lot of time working in the pottery, having been a failed magician's apprentice. He's a big guy, he's fairly bulky. And I would like to think that as I hit this creature, this construct, that the brain he was holding has sort of fallen out of his hand, and I've slipped on it and fallen on top of the thing.
Okay.
And the weight of my armor, my shield, all of it's just sort of, even if it's only for the moment,
Yeah.
has knocked it on its back.
Beautiful. I love it. So that's what you see, Gideon.
So, okay.
So you've done your action as well, sorry, with lighting the torch. So you have a
Yeah.
degree of more movement if you want it. If not, we will move on.
I'll move on without taking aback from the image that greets me.
Yeah, perfect. And kind of the lights went out. Val, one moment this thing was in front of you, smashing
Yeah.
this saw against the wall. Suddenly you were plunged into darkness and only death awaited you. And the next moment, Hector ran past and is now on top of this beast. What do you want to do?
Seizing the moment where Val thought she was going to have to go digging for a torch herself,
Yep.
taking this given opportunity, she does not want to see Hector's selfless bravery, shall we call it for the moment. Recklessness might be another word. Charges alongside him and hopes to bring her mace down upon the creature's own skull.
Okay, I'm going to say because of the nat 20, you will have advantage on this attack. So because of Hector's, you're basically two-teaming this thing at the moment.
Yeah.
I think that is appropriate for pulp style. So an 8. You have a bonus to
I
that?
will burn. I don't. I will burn a luck point.
Okay. Burn a luck point. All of these luck points going, but it is towards the end of the session, so you'll get to roll more. You do indeed hit with a 9. You haven't targeted him, but genuinely, I will move this for the stream to see. I am not cheating. The armor class there is actually 9. So, yeah, you do hit this thing. If you target it, control and left click. When you roll your damage, you'll do the damage to the creature as well. No, you haven't targeted it. Never mind. So you do 3 points of damage. Yeah, that's it. You have targeted it now. I'm going to say, do you want to keep that average roll of a 3, or do you want to re-roll it?
Oh, we're playing that kind of game. I'm re-rolling it.
Oh, you got a 5. That is. Oh, I see what you're doing. You're not doing your weapon damage. You're doing just rolling a d6.
Oh, forgive me. Yes,
Okay.
I'm not playing with the actions tool.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is the reason why it's not registering. That is enough, as there is enough damage to bring Igor the Sawbones to an end. How do you end the life of this, well, number of unfortunate creatures realistically?
Yeah, continuing with the fervour that was attempted and demonstrated in her attempt at turning undead, on realising that this thing would not qualify, she just continues with whatever is her as close to a battle cry as she has, and brings down the mace, kind of repeated hammering away, gets to the point where the skull is starting to give in, and it's like, this is not just one swing, and probably goes beyond what was genuinely necessary. If we are going to be building a narrative here, Hector actually has to pull me off the thing, because I've just continued to beat on it.
Yeah. A little bit grisly. This thing was an undead. There was blood flowing through this body, and as you pulp it, there is arterial spray in Hector's sort of face.
That's what the
Um,
shield's for.
yeah, you
I'm
catch it on
already
the
red.
shield. Hector, do you eventually try and calm Val?
I will sort of, again, I am visibly disturbed by this behavior. I will sort of try and get my spear in between her and the creature and prise her away with it. It's like, okay, that's enough. Save it for later.
Perfect. Perfect. So, Igor defeated. Still much of this workshop to explore. We've perhaps only scratched the surface of it, but for now, we have entered the witching hour. Your torch only just lit, another hour to last. But alas, this is where we're going to have to bring tonight's session to a close. I will keep everything set up as it is so we can continue exactly from where we are from. Wow, fantastic. I've really enjoyed running this. I hope you've all enjoyed playing as well. We'll quickly go around the table, perhaps mention favourite bits or what you're looking forward to next. We'll start off with that amazing roll that you didn't make, but I made on your behalf. Brian, what do you think? Are you liking it? Favourite bits?
Yeah, I'm liking it. It's definitely become dramatic. I mean, you know, it's always great to have that sort of spotlight moment of a dramatic thing. But it's also quite interesting to see that yeah, this is so much not fifth edition D&D,
Mm-hmm.
and
And you know, for balance
those choices
sake,
don't matter.
there's nothing wrong with fifth edition D&D, but it's a different flavour, absolutely, of fantasy gaming, and you know, sometimes a change is as good as a rest. You know, and everybody's got their own tastes. But I'm very pleased that you enjoyed it, and yeah, a remarkable end to this session so far. I can't wait. There's definitely some kind of connection between you and Val beginning to stir. Um, sort of whether it's friends, whether it's comrades in arms, or whether maybe you're going to turn to that faith. Who knows?
Mm,
Plenty of options. I don't know. I'm not suggesting even things. It's
oh yeah,
just that there's so much story to tell still.
Yeah.
Kyle, best moments, thoughts?
I'm really liking not having to make skill checks and things you're really good at, particularly charisma. Certainly understandable and a
Yeah.
brilliant role for the guard
I
goblins,
mean
but with
that was amazing. I thought I was being a little harsh with well, DC 17. I mean, this is difficult, you know. But you've got a pretty face. The beggars, especially Uncle Pockets, love your face because you are. I mean, you didn't optimize your character. You put it into charisma, um, and there should be some benefits for that. But you rolled well, and I do like the dice to tell a story. So that was a good moment, I think, for your character, but also very enjoyable to watch as well. I hope you enjoyed it. Fliss.
Yeah, it was very fun. I liked there's real drama in a way. Like I don't normally feel anxious or
Yeah,
worried during, fifth edition or Pathfinder. Sometimes in Cthulhu, it's got that real kind of risk and edge because you've got the lower hit points and it kind of discourages combat. So it's really interesting to have a system that is encouraging combat encounters where I have one hit point
yeah,
and the light is fading. My heart was in my mouth a few times, and it really helped, I think, in terms of getting into the headspace of the characters. This feels genuinely risky
yeah. Uh,
for me as a player, and I think for my character as well. So it's really good fun. A lot more
Excellent.
drama than usual.
For me, I love the way that you were playing up your intelligence, as it were, early game. It was beautiful to
It's a
see.
7. It's a
Yeah,
7,
yeah,
Andy. It's
yeah.
a 7.
No, you were playing it up.
I,
That
Let me just
is.
say that's my second lowest stat. It's my second lowest stat.
But I did love it, and it shows though that low stats can be fun to play as well. You know,
Yeah.
you know, it's. I think that's the difference. And the system isn't designed to punish low stats. It's designed to give you things that you can hang the character upon, and I think you did that wonderfully. And so, well done, very very nice. Last but not
Thank you,
least,
kind sir.
Malcolm.
Really interested in the contrast between the above and below ground. We had the almost, albeit not particularly high class, but civilized three valves. We had organizations, we have the mercantile houses, we have guilds. It feels like a real city. But then we get underground and everything's not as you would expect. You've got the monstrosities, you've got the things done in the darkness.
Yeah.
And then when you were literally plunged into darkness because your torch runs out, was the high point of the contrast. Yeah, I'm playing with the mechanics. I'm playing with how to describe what Val is feeling. I'm trying to get into the heels of that character, as I often talk about them. It was really interesting to play out. And yeah, I like the fact that though I might still be somewhat brave, every swing of the dice matters.
I mean, that critical hit against you, and then you got the re-roll, which was a miss, and I rolled the dice anyway just to see what the damage would have been. Not as a critical, was a 6. I mean, yeah, that was a close shave. That was,
Yeah.
and I kind of like that thrill. You know, I'm very pleased that you survived it. Don't get me wrong. I always believe I should be a fan of yours primarily,
Yes.
but the danger is real out there. For me, though, I suppose what I've really enjoyed about tonight's session is hopefully it's shown that Shadowdark isn't just a dungeon crawler. It's worked perfectly well, and it's kind of up the stakes in the second part of the stream. But we spent the first hour and a half just role playing, you know, and
Yep.
you know it shows that. And I think this is indicative of any role play game, to be perfectly honest. If you've got a good set of role players around the table that want to role play, well, there's nothing going to really stop them. You know, it doesn't really matter what the stats say or what the rules say. You've got to enjoy playing those characters, and I certainly didn't feel sort of restricted by Shadowdark in any way, shape, or form. That we
No.
should move things on to dungeon crawling. You know, I think it can be used in campaign and in role play encounters quite nicely, and I very much enjoyed that uh, that initial encounter, not just with the doe, but with Flo, and then with
Yeah.
Albert and Ernie. Sorry, I couldn't help. I couldn't help that. Bert and Ernie.
Yes.
So it is late. This is where we bring the session to a close for now. Thank you very much for being a wonderful set of players. I think it's going to be 2 weeks, if everybody can make it, that we'll be doing the part 2 of this. I want to thank, if you're watching this video on demand, thank you very much for staying with us. I hope you've had as much fun as we have. If you can, please give us a like and a subscribe. I put quite a large amount of Shadowdark content out there, as well as other role-playing games as well. So that will really help us out. But as always, for a moment, adventurers, keep those torches lit. Goodbye for now.
Good night.
Good night.